Hey guys, we're back live on Google Hangouts, and I'm here with my father, Dr. Alexander Haskell, who is a naturopath ND for over 30 years, and we're talking about daily detoxification. This is a cleansing, purification, a detoxification program, and we are answering your questions. So tonight we are answering the question, can detoxification help family predisposition such as like cancer and all kinds of things? So the question is, detoxing and cleansing, can it, as it relates to family and genetics, how does this relate to this? So how are you tonight, Dad?
I'm very well, thank you. And it's a great question because I think many people are, especially, let's say, especially in the category of women whose mother or a relative has had breast cancer. They're already in sort of a state of little anxiety about, oh my God, I'm already in that loop, and how can I prevent it in various ways? But I think it applies to many different types of chronic illnesses, and we're looking back to our parents and looking at what we have a tendency towards developing in our lives. So it's a great question, and I think part of the place to start is when you first of all think about being in a family and eating the same foods within a family and living in the same environment. There's a lot more going on here than just genetics. And there was a really not even well publicized or even all that well known, but a great study came out of Norway where they followed adopted children and looked at the illnesses they developed and compared them to their biological parents and to their foster parents. And by far, they developed the same issues or health conditions as their foster parents, which really kind of pointed the finger at environment, the same living environment, the same nutritional habits, and same lifestyles as the foster parents. So I just want to, kind of like have people take a little bit different perspective and look outside the box of how we've been programmed to think that we are predisposed to certain illnesses only because our parents had the same or had the issues.
I think it's a great point, and this is a body, mind, and spirit program, but we're flipping it to say it's a spirit, mind, and body program because everything comes from spirit, and the body is the perfect ultimate communicator tool of the spirit. So that's a great point. I love that. I'd like to look at that study about the adopted children. That would make a great case for what is actually a predisposition genetic, because how do we know, right? I mean, how do we know what is really authentically coming from the DNA gene versus what is coming from a placebo, or as they call it, nocebo effect? So if you've heard your grandparents have cancer and you kind of get it in your thought, like this is one way that people, have disease, then it may be something. Our mind is so powerful, and they have found through the placebo effect all those studies which are nocebo, which means that they gave people, they told these group of clients that they were having particular pharmaceutical drugs that have particular side effects, and they told them negative effects. Meanwhile, they did not give them the actual drugs, and a high percentage of the clients actually reported these negative side effects. So how powerful is our mind? And that is why we believe that you need to really detoxify the body from everything, cleansing it, and the mind, getting rid of the negative belief systems and everything around that process, and then freeing up your lifestyle so that you are living without kind of limited beliefs around it. So thanks, Deb.
Yeah, and I think it's still these environmental toxins. They certainly affect the interior of every cell of the body. And there are certain cells that are more sort of predisposed to attracting these residues, these chemical residues, but they certainly get inside and affect not only the mitochondria but the nucleus and genetics. So yeah, the change that happens within cells is often due to genetic changes, but it's not necessarily due to weaknesses that are inherited, but more the environmental exposures that do affect our genetics.
So you're saying that it does affect positively anything that is a family, what would be considered genetic. What else would be considered a genetic disease?
I think that medicine has gone in the direction of trying to detect every disease that relates to the genetic code. So that was so much research, and maybe 10 years or 15 years ago, was let's see if we can figure out the code for breast cancer, and if we can somehow genetically re-engineer that weakness in that gene in the DNA, then they thought they would be able to find the cure for cancer. And this has been going on with breast cancer for so long, like looking for the magic bullet. And nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, there's not a lot of research going into what's causing that gene to express itself. And we know that these what are called endocrine disrupting chemicals, primarily herbicides and pesticides, but many other petrochemicals, are what are leading to genetic changes, partly because of how the body is perceiving them, thinking that it is a hormone, when actually it is a toxin masquerading as a hormone, binding to receptors and turning on the cell's genetic code, or genetic genes, basically.
I completely agree, and I mean, we are advocates of course, there's a time and a place for Western medicine, there's a time and a place for holistic and preventative and cleansing and stuff, so I'm an advocate of all of it, whatever speaks to you, whatever speaks to your path. I think there is, this program, we really wanted to have people get back in touch with their innate healer inside and their physician that already knows inside. So the detox and cleansing is really about ridding the body of everything so that your natural ability to heal emerges within yourself anyway. But we don't want to take away from anything within the Western medicine. There's a time and a place for it, and the point is for us all to come together and use all of it for the highest good, for the most vitality, and to help end these diseases. And I agree. I think that to think that you can just do something with the gene pool and switch a code within the DNA to not have particular things like a cancer, I mean, just coming from a spiritual standpoint, it's a little bit laughable, only because everything comes from spirit, and the spirit is going to turn on those hormones and whatever is going on within you emotionally as well. So we can't really deal with one without the other. It's impossible. We have to look at the holistic approach to all of it. Our emotions are playing into it. Our genetic code is playing into it. What we eat, what environment we're in, it's all there. So handling, as much as you're able to, and wherever your free will allows you, as far as how much perseverance you have, and how extreme are you going to go in your detox and cleanse to really give the body the freedom to free up to do its real work. So, anything else? I think we answered the question.
I think maybe if we could just spend a short, brief period of time, and that is, it may be difficult to fully comprehend, but I do believe that our thoughts certainly definitely our thoughts and our emotions affect our biochemistry. And I think also I do believe that certain thought patterns affect us down to the cellular level. So if we have, it's not really genetically sort of been given, but more the sort of the attitudes or the behavior of our parents and what beliefs we've picked up about who we are. Mm-hmm. And part of the purification that we're both speaking about here, Erin and myself, is being more cognizant, more aware, more conscious of ourselves and our thoughts and our feelings. And if we begin to pick up these subtle beliefs of who we are in a very formative stage of our lives, in those early first maybe 10 to 15 years, and begin to sense, who am I? What beliefs do I have around who I am? And we start to begin to realize that maybe certain thought patterns are not really healing for us, and actually are moving us towards a path of not feeling well or different types of symptoms. That those are also sort of genetic overlays. Maybe our parents were also kind of giving a similar message to our parents. So this is part of the purification as well, which is part of increasing our awareness and consciousness.
I love it. There's just so many layers to it. It's so fun. And Louise Hayes talks about this, and also Mind Over Medicine, around the suppression that is in us, that we have to be expressed. Communication is our essence as spiritual beings, and if we don't communicate, these will implode on ourselves essentially. And look, there's many causes of cancer, but definitely emotions are playing into it. We're proving it more and more many great speakers and authors such as Louise Hay and things have had this concept for a while. It's becoming really well known as, it's kind of like common sense. I mean, we've all been upset and we feel the emotions. We feel, our nerves getting distraught. We feel our energy going down. Stress is, I think I heard a statistic today that said about 60% of all doctor visits or 60 to 90% of all doctor visits are stress related. So keep the stress down. What is stress? Stress is simple. You put a negative or a positive meaning to something and you instantaneously have that feeling in your body. So if you're putting a negative meaning to anything, you get that stress within you. So either having neutrality around it, mindfulness, or removing yourself from that situation, that circumstance. So the power is in your hands, and it's yours to reach out and get help from, whether it be a naturopath, going to get cleansing, or your regular doctor, or getting your tuition to a therapist, or whatever you need. Mindfulness, meditation, you name it. So there's all my information of the day. There's my preaching of the day.
Good.
Okay, good. Well, I think we answered it. You guys, please make comments below. Send us more questions. We're having fun answering these. We're here on Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. We're not always perfect with that time, but we are trying to be more consistent because we know how important it is to build community. And Google Hangouts has been great. I want to say thank you to all this great technology. And know that you can find us at dailydetoxification.com. And look us up. We have education programs. We're also doing retreats, quarter retreats, where you can go and do a real detox and cleanse and get out of your environment. And have a beautiful day, you guys. Dr. Alexander Haskell and Erin Fall Haskell. Ciao. Good night.